Hi guys, it is Elisa here, or the Diamond Stitcher as I go by on YouTube and Instagram. Hello, good morning if it is morning, good afternoon or evening, whatever time it is you are watching this video. I am really happy you stopped in and you are here. I hope you'd consider subscribing and then clicking that notification bell so you are made aware whenever I do post a new video. I'm trying to post 3 videos or so every week while I can, and if you're coming back, thank you as always for returning. Now, I've been meaning to film this video for quite a while. It's just escaped me. So I'm going to attempt to do it today. You can see that the sun is coming in behind me. I'm filming in the living room. So hopefully the sun doesn't affect the video too much. I wanted to film this now while the house is fairly quiet. And what I am going to do in this video is go over a square diamond painting kit and some tips and tricks I have for working with squares. I used to only do squares at Diamond Art Club just because I loved the way that they were finished, like the look of a finished square painting, but I now go back and forth between rounds and squares. Working with them, I wouldn't say one is harder than the other. It's just there's a learning curve for working with both. Some people think rounds are harder, and then others will say squares are harder. So it really is just a matter of preference. And I hope that I can share a few tips and tricks in this video that may help you with your square diamond painting. So I have a few things in front of us. Now, I did unbox this with another kit on my channel this is from the Amazon.com storefront. So if you didn't know, Diamond Art Club does have an Amazon storefront. They've actually started posting kits for sale on Amazon.ca as well. So if you are Canadian, check out Amazon.ca. So let's take a look at this kit first. So this one is a square diamond painting, and it's called Princess and the Pea Kitty. As far as I know, she is still available on the Amazon store. And it's a 33 centimeter by 33 centimeter painting. Your diamond painting comes in this nice dust sleeve. Again, I've already opened it, that's why it's like that, but it's usually sealed. As we've come to know, nice soft lint canvases. Everything is exactly the same quality-wise for our Amazon kits. You might hear a little bit of background noise. I'll try to edit that out, but that's what happens when you live in a one-bedroom apartment. Anyway, your diamond paintings might come like this and they're not lying flat. All you have to do is turn it around, and you can roll it backwards on itself. Because it is a poured glue canvas and the canvas quality is quite high, we can roll it back like this and it's not going to ruin the glue or the canvas at all. This just helps it lay flatter. You'll see what I mean in a moment. All Diamond Art Club canvases do have a self-flattening feature, so if you were to leave it lying out with something heavy on it, for example, this one would have lied flat. As you can see, it's pretty good now. Okay, guys, so I'm going to move this out of the way, and we're going to use this color. Get that out of the way, make sure I'm grabbing the right one. 989, yeah. So when you're going to kit up, as I said, I just kit up into these baggies. These I think are 2x3 or 3x2, I guess they're called. Just craft baggies. I like using them. Easy way to open them. Put your finger and your thumb over the zipper and just do that motion. What do you call that? Like a sliding motion. Opens them really easily. I usually cut a corner off these bags, and then I pour them in. Now, so I'm going to be filling in these J's here, and I'm going to show you some tips to working with square diamonds. I am going to use my Mooney Made tray. So this is a 3D printing company called Mooney Made. She makes 2 sizes of trays. This one's the small size. I like the small size. Their large is huge for me, so I stick with the smalls. There are all sorts of companies out there that do make 3D printed trays. For Canada, I recommend DP Gal Creations. She's on Etsy under that name. She makes a great 3D printed tray. I also recommend Les Creations de Clos. She has a website with that full name. They make 3D printed trays as well that work well. I've used them in the past. And I think those are our only 2 kind of big tray companies. I'm trying to think. There are a few other smaller shops, but those 2 are the ones that I've used that I like. I'm just admiring the shine of this pen in the sunlight there. This pen is from Butterfly Effect Wares. They are a USA small shop. I can't remember what state they're in, but they make gorgeous pens. This is one of their most popular colorways they ever had, called Black Prismatic Pearl. I just love it. And this is considered a mini pen, so it's shorter than the standard pen, which I like. It's very easy to flip back and forth. I do use a metal tip in both ends. I have a bent single placer here. I find it really takes the strain off of my wrist, so that's why I like the bent one. And then this one has to be about a 7 placer. That's the most common multi-placer I use. If you're new to multi-placing, I would suggest starting with like a 3 or a 4 placer and go from there. These tips are from Everlasting Tips. They're a small shop on Etsy, and they are based in Australia. They are stainless steel, so they will last your entire lifetime or your diamond painting career. They shouldn't degrade at all. I've not noticed, and I've had them for years. A couple years, I should say. You can also get some metal tips on Amazon, though they are usually not stainless steel. They're usually metal alloy, and those can degrade over time, especially if you are a hard presser. You'll start noticing indents on the edges after a while. So yeah, that's what I'm using in my single placer. I have a glue dot, so you'll hear that talked about a lot. A lot of us like glue dots in our single placer. They just work the best. They don't have any residue. They can be super sticky when you first load them in, and I load them in with tweezers. You just got to shove them in there. And then when you hear people say dirty it up, what that means is usually dab it on your t-shirt or your pants just to get some of that sticky gone, because they're super sticky when you first put them in. And then in here I have Randa's Crafty Corner Putty. That's always my go-to. I always fall back on her putty. She is a USA small shop as well. Anyway, let's get started. So when you are working with squares, the most important thing you need is good quality squares. So thankfully with Diamond Art Club, that's what we get. Good quality squares mean that they are uniform in size, and most importantly, they don't have any tabs. Now, I wish I had bad squares to show you what I mean by tabs, but tabs are little bits of plastic that stick out on the sides of the square diamonds. So if there's tabs on them, they're not going to be sitting nice and flush like this. There's not one space between the squares. So if you are multi-placing squares, that's what you need. You need squares that are sitting this nicely next to each other. Any squares with tabs you want to pick out and put in your trash dish. Again, I wish I had bad squares to show you, but I don't keep bad drills. And I mostly only do Diamond Art Club right now. But that's the first thing. So we have our good quality squares. It really helps to have a good quality 3D printed tray as well. Just helps them sit down nicely next to each other. What else? I've got a fresh pen of putty. I find putty works the best. Doesn't leave any residue, and as long as you don't overfill it, it's not stringy. So I am going to find that little cover minder. So I'm going to pull this plastic back, and I'm going to use the cover minder to keep it out of the way. And get it. There we go. I'm also going to put a release taper down here just because I don't want my arm sticking in this part of the glue. And we are just going to be working up there. So we've got our diamonds shaken out. We have our pen ready. Now we're going to start. Now I multi-place. It took me a little while to get good at multi-placing. As with anything, with practice makes perfect. When you're starting your square diamond painting, there's a few different techniques you can use. So you can single place. Single placing means you're using your single tip of your pen, and you just pick up the diamond and you put it down. Now, Diamond Art Club squares, you can see if I can zoom in even more. You don't see much of a grid anymore. It's very, very faint. It's there, but it's faint. The goal in placing squares is you want each little diamond to go directly over its symbol. So directly over the J, right in the middle. If you place it a little bit off, in the end, it's not going to line up as good. I'm going to just move them over a little bit. Looks like they want to be moved over a little bit. Usually what I do is I start at the edges, and I always start down here. I don't know why when I film videos I start here, but I do. So this is one way. You can single place like this where you're putting, you go down an entire row. Now if you place a diamond like this, as you can see in the top left there, it's crooked. You can't just kind of push it up like this and hope it stays. Over time, it's going to start to pull back down. What you really need to do is you need to break the seal between the diamond and the glue. So you can either pull it over like I did like that. You can use your tweezers to pop it up. But I find just over pulling it just helps break that suction between the diamond and the glue, break that seal so that you can put it where it actually needs to go. So I am going to show you a few different ways to start placing your squares. So this is one way where we're single placing and we're just doing, I've just decided to do a row of 5 here, and you go like this. Some people find doing that, they don't get their diamonds very straight and they get very frustrated. So what you might hear is you might hear some people talking about the checkerboard method, and you're going to hear that a lot. I'm just going to place a few more diamonds here, and then I'll show you what the checkerboard method is. I hope you guys can see that okay. Checkerboard method means basically we are going to make a checkerboard. So we are going to do every other diamond. So I'm going to start, I'm just going to put one there. So we're going to do every other. And we're going to put one here, one up here. So I'm going to do 3 rows. I actually find that my diamonds are almost a little more crooked when I do it this way, but to each their own. There is no right or wrong way to do it. It's just going to be a matter of preference and what you find works the best for you. My hand shakes a lot, so that could be why I find it just a little more shaky when I do it this way. Just because of the way I'm filming too, I don't have a great angle, so I hope these are going down in the right spots. They do look like they are from my end. So that's checkerboard. So when we're checkerboarding, we are doing every other diamond and we're creating a checkerboard look here. Let me just add a couple more. What people will do with the checkerboard method is they will pick a section, so like all of these J's here, and they will checkerboard this entire thing. I'm not going to do that because I don't have time to do that, and it's not necessary to show you what it is. So once they've done their whole section, then they will go back with their single placer and then they fill in all the gaps. People find doing it this way, it helps space out the diamonds a little bit better than you are to fit them all next to each other like I did with the first 2 rows. Now with this diamond painting kit, I wasn't sure what kind of grid we were going to get. Diamond Art Club, well, it's actually a while ago now. I don't know if it's a year ago, it's at least 6 months or more. They tightened up their square drill field. And it looks like this is the new drill field because they're fitting together really nice and snugly. If you have an older diamond painting that was printed probably a year or more ago, you might have the old grid where there's a lot more gapping. So spacing, you have to be a little bit more precise in spacing. But because this grid is snug, you can see that the diamonds all fit pretty nicely together and there's no major gapping, right? You can see that. Okay, I hope. So it is a matter of preference. I'm just looking between the two. I see more slight gaps when I do checkerboard method than this method. So that's why I like to multi-place. Multi-placing. Now, you can get really good and use, I think 15 multi-placer is the highest one I've seen. I actually have one. I could have brought it out for this actually. No, I'm not going to do it. This is a beginner video and you shouldn't be using a 15 placer to begin with. So I'm using the 7 placer. Now the nice thing with a multi-placer like this, you don't actually have to use it just for 7 diamonds. I can pick up 3 diamonds just like that and I can place them down. So when you are going to multi-place and you're picking up your diamonds, you want to make sure that they are picking up nice and, let me see if I can get this more into focus. See how tight they are together. So you really need to have your diamonds shaken out in your tray really nicely so they're nice and snug, lining up right next to each other. So when you pick them up with your multi-placer, they will be exactly where they need to be. Now, why I like multi-placing? A few different reasons. I find that I am better at it than single placing. I find my lines don't look any worse multi-placing than they do placing it singly, so I don't care for single placing anymore. I also like multi-placing when it comes to the border. So I always recommend that people fill in this outside border using a multi-placer first. If you do single placing and you single place, and it's not perfect, you're going to notice bumps along the top, and that's really noticeable with a finished diamond painting. But just as when you're teaching your kids how to color, you teach them to do the lines like around the outline first and then fill it in. Same theory applies with this. So I'm going to show you. So I picked up the whole 7 or 8, how many is ever is on there. Now what I do is I make sure that this diamond closest to me, this diamond closest to me goes down first, and I need to make sure that it goes down right where it's supposed to be. As long as I have that diamond down first, then the rest should all fall relatively into place, except you can see gravity was not my friend there. I was taking too long to place them. Let me just put these guys. The thing with certain types of putty, some putty is not as sticky as others, so Randa's, for example, is not super sticky, so if you're holding the diamonds on your multi-placer for too long, they can start falling off. Now, what I like to do, once I have my first batch down here, you can see I leave a little space on the end of the multi-placer here, and that's just so that I can put that directly over these diamonds that are already placed down. And what that allows, it allows me to fit this one nice and close to that diamond without bumping into it. So I need 4 more diamonds to reach the top there. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick up just 4 diamonds. I'm going to put my multi-placer over the other diamonds that are sitting there. Make sure it's nice and snug, and then I place it down. It's a little bit hard to see, but when I place the diamonds, I'm actually rolling them into place kind of like this. So I put them down closest to me and I roll it. I'm trying to get it so kind of like this, and then I roll them down, and I find that helps them land exactly where they must sit. I'm going to go up here so you hopefully will be able to see a little bit better. So I'm anchoring the spot where I have space on my multi-placer on the diamond that's already down, and then I'm rolling them into place. These ones are a little bit cockeyed. Again, I'm not looking at the canvas like I normally do. There we go. So as long as you have your multi-placer filled with the right substance, with enough of it, you have your diamonds lined up in a tray. It doesn't matter what tray, as long as they line up diamonds good. And you are, whoops. See, my hand gets shaky, so sometimes I might accidentally miss a spot or overshoot my shot. There we go. We just need to fix it. One tip that I find when I place my diamonds, I try not to push them down too hard initially. I try and just do a light touch, enough that the glue grabs the diamond. That way, if I need to move one, I can move it rather easily without have to fully breaking that seal. If I was to, slam my diamonds in so they're super tight to that glue, if I was to move it, I would have to do this. I would put my multi-placer or my single placer on top, overshoot it. So I've pushed it way out here. It's now stuck on there, and I can put it back down. So if you're trying to move a diamond and you notice it keeps going back to its old spot, that's because you haven't broken the seal, and you need to break the seal under the diamond and replace it down. That is something that I see people ask often. Again, practice makes perfect. The more you do this, the better you're going to get. And I find as long as your outside edges are relatively straight, then your inside is going to look pretty good once you fill it in. Now, the important thing with the new square grids is there's not much room for error. So with the old grids, there was some gapping, and sorry, I'm just looking at my dog. She's just sitting here kind of funny. The gapping made it so that if you, what am I trying to say? You have to be more precise in your placement with these new grids. If you have something a little bit off, by the time you get to the end, you might not be able to fit your diamonds in. They're going to be so tight together. And that just means your spacing was off somewhere. And after you've put in quite a few rows of diamonds down, it's really hard to fix your spacing with these new grids. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it in with my multi-placer. So I am going to just go. Now, as you can see, a little bit of that putty stuck to the glue there. That's because I have it a little bit overfilled. If you do have some putty that gets onto the canvas, what you can use is your tweezers. I don't have my tweezers, so I'm going to use these scissors and try to Just scoop it off. It doesn't affect the glue at all. It just might make the diamond not stick so nice to it. So that's a tip with putty, don't overfill. Okay, so I'm just going to fill in some of this. And I'm trying to see where I am in the camera. It's really hard to show things like this, you guys. So I'm gonna, again, I've left a space here. I don't want these guys falling off. I've left one space as my anchoring. I have them all nice and tight together. I'm going to put the diamond closest to me down, and I'm going to roll the rest on. Got one that didn't want to stick. Again, oops, I miscalculated the diamonds there. So some people will multi-place and they will just do it like this. They will just keep going. So I will keep going along. And you can see there's some J's under here that I haven't done. Now, one tip that I do recommend when you're working with squares, pick one way and stick with it. So I've been placing these vertically. So I would try my best to keep placing these vertically. If I mix vertical and horizontal, it might start looking a little funny. It doesn't actually matter which way you go, just stick with whichever way. So if you like doing horizontal and you're going to do it this way, all the way down, then make sure you're continuing that for the majority of your canvas. It just makes it look like a better finished effect. My little puppy here is saying, can we go outside for a walk? Yes, we can. Just give me a minute. Almost finished. I'm going to pour some more diamonds in here. Another tip with multi-placing squares, I hear people talk about the breaks between diamonds. They don't like the look of that. Now with the new Diamond Art Club grids, you're actually not going to get much of that. These diamonds are fitting so close together that it's not much of a problem anymore. But what people were seeing was spaces between. So if they were multi-placing in fives, every 5, they would see a little bit of a bigger space and then 5 more. So you could totally tell that they were multi-placing. Whereas for a more cohesive kind of look, you want it to look cohesive. You don't want it to look like there were like page breaks, right? What you can do is you can multi-place checkerboard. So I'm going to pick up 4 diamonds and I will show you what that looks like. I'll start here. So I'm going to put my 4 diamonds down where they go. I'm going to pick up 4 more diamonds and I'm going to start right here where the last one ended, next to it. See? We're going to do that again on the other side. So I'm going to go up here now. Doesn't have to be 4 diamonds. You can choose whatever amount you want. You can do 7, you can do 3, you can do 2. But if you do it like this, oops. Let me do one more row. So if you keep doing this, so they will do this the entire section. So this whole section, they do this, and then they go back and they fill it in. So similar to single placing checkerboard, it's just we are doing it with a multi-placer. Every once in a while, if you do have putty in your pen, I find going and making sure there's none overhanging on the sides, and then just flattening it out on the top just helps it work a little bit better without getting stuck to that glue or stuck to diamonds. I'm seeing a few diamonds with little bubbles on top, so I'm trying to avoid them. So with a method like this, you can take your time and be very careful with placing down the first rows of the diamonds, and then when you're filling in, you saw how fast I did that, you can just fill it in rather quickly. So that's a way that you can multi-place using checkerboard that helps disperse some of the lines so you're not seeing something like this. That's a bit dramatic, but you see that space in between these two, so they don't see that by doing this kind of method. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else tips I have for squares. You want to make sure you're placing them straight down. Again, the most important thing if you have to move a diamond is break the seal between the glue, and you can do that just by over pushing it either way. You can even over push it and pick it up again and then put it right down. You just need to break that seal in order to place it down properly. I like doing my edges first. I think it gives it a nice clean look, no matter, if the inside is a tiny bit wonky, at least your edges are straight. Again, you're going to be looking at this from at least 3 feet back, if not more, in order to view the image at a proper distance. So when you're standing that far back, you're not going to notice all the little imperfections that you notice when you have your light pad on and your nose is to the canvas, right? Of course, you're going to see a few little tiny slivers of gapping there. That is nothing. A little tiny bit of space like that is actually really important because if the diamonds don't have space, they're going to start to pop. With this glue exposed to air, it'll actually shrink a little bit over time, and when it shrinks, it pulls the diamonds closer together. So if your diamonds are already so snug together and there's not even like a hairline of a space, they may start popping on you, which is not fun. Thankfully, I've never had a diamond art club with that issue, but that is something to note, and why it is actually important that your diamond painting is not too snug, that your diamonds are not too snug. Did I forget anything? Probably. I always forget something. The other thing, I don't know if you notice, when I am diamond painting, I like anchoring with my pinky finger down on the canvas before I place it. That's because I have a bit of a shake to my hand. So I'm always anchoring before I put it down, I'm always anchoring my pinky side down. I find it just gives me a little bit of stability when I'm placing and I'm not so shaky. What I do is I work on section by section, so I would finish filling in all these J's and then maybe some of the E's, and then I'd move on to the next section. It's really up to you how you move along in your diamond painting. It's just a matter of preference and finding what works for you. I hope some of these tips were helpful in working with squares, and most importantly, they just need to be placed down properly, right? And if you have a wonky line, like something crazy like this, and you don't fix it, and you move on to your next line, and you want to wait until you're done your section to fix it, don't do that. Fix it right away, because if I don't fix this, my whole spacing is going to be completely off. And it's a lot harder to go back after you have a whole bunch of diamonds down to fix the spacing than it is to fix it as you're going. Again, to move a diamond, you have to break the seal. Make sure you're using a good tray. Make sure the diamonds are sitting flush against each other if you're multi-placing. You want to make sure when you're picking them up like that so that they're nice and tight together like that. If you pick them up with a lot of spaces in between, that's how they're going to go down on your canvas, right? So that's another important thing to remember. And I always roll the rolling technique. So I always put this end of my diamond down first as an anchor. As long as that one is over the spot properly, then the rest should roll into place just fine. So I hope this was helpful. I will let you guys go and enjoy your day. Wow, we're at 40 minutes already. Crazy. Time flies when you're having fun, right? But I've wanted to film this video for quite a while and I just never got around to doing it. If you have any questions about squares, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video. It really helps a small channel like mine grow. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and stick around for all things diamond painting related. And click that notification bell to be notified when I post new videos. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram or Facebook if you want some more content. Otherwise, that's it for today. Happy diamond painting, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye!